Alright, y'all, we're getting into what I like to call the deep water episodes, and that's when things start to take a little bit of a shift, way more conflicts start to come to head. So let's start off with episode 6. So episode 6 was pretty much really focused on Princess Margaret. It was, like I said, focused heavily on her and her mental state, and we learned a lot of. Let me tell you something. I can honestly say, out of all of the seasons of The Crown, I can honestly say I am learning the most from this season so far, and I'm only like I've just finished like episode 7, but literally this is like the most that I've really learned about everything that's going on like since The Crown has been on. So shout out to everybody who like did this season. Y'all are doing an amazing job so far. So we got Margaret, she's chilling with her boo, that doing Margaret like she normally do. She's partying, having fun in her little room or whatever. And his name is Derek Jennings. Now, after, she hangs out with him, he says, I got something to tell you, you're not gonna really like it, and then we cut over to Margaret being with the Queen and pretty much says that, I finally found this man that I really like, I really care about him, he's everything, and he leaves me. For what? And she was like, for what? For God. He was like, what you mean? He went to go be a priest or whatever. So with him entering the priesthood, vow of chastity, all of that other good nonsense. So while she's sitting there, with the Queen, she starts coughing a little bit, and the Queen is like, you really need to go get that, checked on because you've been coughing a lot. And eventually she keeps coughing to the point to where she coughs up blood. So the next thing we see, we hear like people talking on the news, and you see Princess Margaret getting surgery done. And to pretty much see like what the problem is. And the main problem is that she smokes so much. Like she smokes a lot. And what I'm confused is, if Princess Margaret is having these problems, how is Camilla, okay, still alive? Because every time we see that bitch, she's chain smoking. Every fucking time, okay? So, so then we go to the prince's, whose birthday is it? Princess Edward's birthday. They're all having a nice little dinner or whatever the case may be. And during this time, I want to say this, we're flipping back and forth between the Queen and the palace and everything that's going on there. And then we also are focused on this mental kind of like asylum, It's showing, two characters in particular that's really like taken with the Queen and everything that's going on with her and whatnot. So yeah, so we're dealing with, like I said, people from this mental asylum, and two of them are really taken aback. Like I said, not taken aback, but they're very like interested in stuff that goes on with the Queen. You see them, when they see the Queen on TV, they're doing the little, what is it? God bless the Queen or some shit. God save the Queen. I think that's what it's called. So anyway, so we go back to Prince Edward's birthday, and we have the Queen and Princess Margaret. They're talking or whatever, and Princess Margaret pretty much says to the Queen like, I need you to give me as much work as possible, because pretty much her thing is that she doesn't really feel like she has any purpose. She's not the Queen, she's the sister of the Queen, and she doesn't really have as much responsibility as her sister as other people do. And y'all can remember even a couple seasons ago, when they did give Princess Margaret, something to do, and she did go around, to the countries, and everybody liked her, that became a problem. So again, she just asked the Queen, could you please give me more work? Just give me more work, so that I can, fulfill my purpose in at least the role that I'm currently in. So we go from her saying that to her, right, to then the next freaking scene, right? We see Margaret in her house, in whatever wing of the palace she's in, chilling. And then we got the Queen coming in, and then I don't know, I guess one of her little counselors coming. And this is the thing that pisses me off about the Queen. The Queen, literally, it pisses me off because she tries to pawn everything off on everybody else versus like doing it herself. And I understand you're the Queen, so that's the whole point. But like, what was the point of you even coming here and bringing this guy? The counselor pretty much said to Margaret that with Edward, becoming of age and stuff like that, that as far as the line of like succession, I think it's kind of like she's like is no longer in it. I think she hit like maybe fourth or fifth, but with him being of age, technically he would be in line ahead of her, and then his kids would be ahead of her. So she kind of, all of the like rights and stuff and privileges and all of the prestige and whatever freaking title it is that comes with her being within that little bubble of people who could technically be, I think, next in line for the crown, she's no longer in. So that pretty much means she has to give up all of, like I said, her titles, all of the work and stuff that she asked for, she can no longer do. Now, mind you, the counselor slash advisor is telling her all of this, but the queen is sitting right there. And that's the thing that made me mad. Like, Queen Elizabeth, you could have just came in your damn self and told your sister versus bringing somebody in there with you to pretty much be your mouthpiece. It's dumb, it's retarded, it makes absolutely no sense to me. So of course, as Margaret should, she takes the counselor off out and she goes off. Like, it's fucked up that she asked for more work literally in the last scene, and then the next scene you're telling her, I'm taking everything away from you. It's not cool, okay? So then Marge goes to see Anne, I believe. She goes to see Anne, and you can just kind of tell she's like in a very, very, very depressed, state. She's just kind of like living. She's just kind of being there. She's not even living. She's just kind of existing at this point. So Charles ends up coming by because Anne had called and told him, "Look, you need to come and see her because she's going through it." So he comes and he sees his aunt. Him and Margaret, they go outside for lunch or whatever, and he tells her that Diana is pregnant again, and but things are not good in the household, and he talks about how they kind of like fight and they squabble a lot, and how he's been going to this therapist to kind of help him figure everything out. And so she was like, "So what you trying to say, like I need to go to like therapy or something like that?" He was like, "Yeah, pretty much." So reluctantly she takes her ass over to this therapist, and the therapist pretty much asks her about being depressed and all of this other stuff, and is there possibly like about how there's possibly like there may be like some mental issues in the family, but they're not really too sure. So then that's when we cut over. I'm trying to think, is that how we found out? I think I can't remember exactly because I watched this episode yesterday, but I think they found out about we figured out that it's cousins in the cousins of the Queen and Margaret of them in the mental asylum, because I think it was a conversation that Margaret was having with um with her therapist, and then she went to go talk to the Queen about the mental illness that kind of ran throughout their family, and how she has like a couple, how she's heard that they have cousins that's in a mental asylum. But at first the Queen is like, "No, what are you talking about? Like, they're dead. Like, I know who you're talking about, but those people are dead." And she was like, "No, they can't be, because it's already been said that they're alive somewhere." So they go and they look into, I guess, whatever little history of cousins and stuff, which again I will keep saying till I can't say no more. White people, I need y'all to understand the privilege that y'all have of being able to go back damn near as far as y'all want to figure out who cousin was who aunt was who, how y'all whole lineage like works out. Because unfortunately, people like me, we cannot do that at all. Anyway, so they go and they look in the book, and the book, like I said, ends up saying, that they're dead. Close enough. So then we have the guy that she was messing with in the beginning, Derek, which they call him Dazzle. He wants to meet up with Margaret. At first she says no, but then she figures I can end up like probably using him. So her and Dazzle end up driving to the asylum because she's like, "No, I want to figure this out." So she sends Dazzle in, and when Dazzle comes out, he pretty much tells her, that the family, that the cousins that are, it's cousins pretty much that are in there. There's multiple of them. There's 5 in total that's in the asylum. That the cousins in there, they know, who their family is. They know that they're related to the Queen. And so, just explaining, pretty much how it is for them in there. And so, of course, Margaret gets in her fifis, when she confronts her mama, like what the heck is going on here? So come to find out, these are Margaret's uncle's children. So her mama's brother's kids, okay? And the mom is trying to talk to her. The mother tried to tell her, "Oh, well, when the abdication happened, all of this stuff, it just threw everything up in a tizzy." And like Margaret said, y'all like to blame everything in this family that happens on this damn abdication. And granted, the abdication did shake up a lot of things, I'm pretty sure, in that family. But y'all cannot keep using that as an excuse for every fucking thing, for everything that happens in this family, whether it would, especially with it being fucked up. The first thing y'all want to say is, "Oh, well, your uncle in the abdication, your uncle in the abdication." All that man said is that he didn't want to be king no more. Everything else that y'all did, that was on y'all. So I felt Margaret on that. Like, Margaret went the fuck off, and she was like, at the end of the day, y'all sent them off because they were different. They was part of the royal family, and y'all still sent them off. And she pretty much was like, you can't be different in this family. You just can't. It's not possible. So then we come to find out at the end of it that, because they kept talking about the purity of the bloodline, and it was just giving me very very Game of Thronesy, very King Joffrey going around and killing all of, killing all of his daddies, bastards and stuff. It gives me very like white power. White power. Like it gives me a lot of that feeling. But anyway, so come to find out, it had nothing to do. They kept saying that the reason they put them away is because if the press would have found out about them, then it would have made it seem like the bloodline was tainted and all this other stuff. But come to find out, they weren't. That wasn't even true. They weren't even technically part of the bloodline. They were kind of like married into the bloodline. Like it wasn't. It didn't connect the way that they were trying to make it seem like it was trying to connect. And Dazzle wanted her to join him, and say fuck the crown. But this is at the end of the episode. She pretty much says, I can't because for Princess Margaret, her proximity to the crown is what gives her purpose, and that's kind of sad. But it is what it is on that. So give me 1 second, y'all. I'm about to move into episode 7. Okay, sorry about that. And so now we go on to episode 7. Now, I want y'all to please forgive me about the beginning of this episode because I really didn't. I was working when this was on, so it's like I kind of caught the beginning part, but I really didn't at the same time. All I know is that was really heavily based on South Africa and apartheid at the time, which if y'all don't know, apartheid is pretty much like Jim Crow, separation, black and white, you know what I mean? Okay. And that didn't end until like the late 90s with, Nelson Mandela becoming president and remember him going to jail and all that not good shit, but all of that shit. So, okay, I'm trying to say where we at. Okay, so where I kind of like start paying attention a little bit is when Margaret Thatcher is in the kitchen and she's cooking and she's talking to, I don't know, I guess her cabinet or whatever about what's going on down there. Now, the point of the matter is that all of the people that's in, like, I don't even know what the hell it was called because they said it 1,000 at the time, but the little committee that had all of the nations on it, they wanted to put sanctions. They wanted to enact sanctions against South Africa because of their, practices and whatnot, and pretty much a way to kind of like get them to like stop doing apartheid and like treat people the way that they're supposed to. Okay, but at the time, Margaret Thatcher was not cool with it. She said a lot of sideways things, and her attitude this episode was extremely like off-putting. It was really disgusting. It was very typical white woman as far as I'm concerned. She said to her cabinet, like, we don't need to be in the likes of them. We don't need the queen being cool with people from Nigeria and Swahili and not Swahili. I'm sorry, y'all. Nigeria and Zambia and all of these other places. We don't need her to associate with that. Why the fuck not? Why not? And I have this right here. I love how white people swear they have the moral high ground when they are just as trash as everybody else. Now, see, I can't speak in particular to the way that the UK works and how their racism and stuff goes on. From what I understand, the racism over there in the UK is very like, they try to act like it don't exist, which to me is even like worse than what goes on over here. Like that's even worse, to be quite honest. But we're gonna get to y'all ancestors because y'all want to talk so bad about us, and fuck our ancestors. From what I understand, at that time, y'all and everybody else was taking everything that y'all possibly could from Africa as far as resources is concerned. So you want to talk? I'm just gonna keep going. So eventually, we have the meetup with the CHOGM, which is the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. There we go. That's what it is. So all of the nations, they meet together. I believe it was in the Bahamas. In Bahamas, that's where they end up meeting up. And like I said, the nations wanted to implement sanctions, and Margaret Thatcher is pretty much saying like, no, we don't need to do that because it's gonna hurt their economy, and we have a good back and forth, and this, that, and the third, and so eventually, I'm sorry, this is when I say meet up. The Queen and Margaret and the Prime Minister Margaret, they end up meeting up talking about what was going on, and like I said, the prime minister pretty much says that she did not want to impose sanctions because she felt like it would hurt the economy, how they do a lot of trade and stuff like that with Africa and South Africa. So she felt like if they do that, it will fuck up a lot of, I guess, the money and stuff like that that's flowing throughout the country. But as Queen Margaret was trying, Queen Margaret, I'm so sorry, y'all, because the names. The Queen was trying to say is, like, it's kind of beyond that. It's not really about the money. Like, the way that they treat people is, like, incorrect, pretty much, like, in the nicest way possible. That's what the Queen was trying to say. And, you know, Margaret Thatcher was really pissing me off in this conversation. She talking about some, you know, you want to be aligned with them, but, like, you know, we shouldn't be aligned with them. Like, we have a really rich history, you know, and you have a rich history of going back all the way into King George or King Philip, whoever the fuck. Let me say this at the end of the day. And the Queen ended up saying, like, you know, you think that we're different, but we're really not. And I wanted to, all of that to say, you know, I don't know if she really said this, but the Queen did say in our conversation, like, well, all of those places that you just listed, Nigeria, Zambia, all of those places, you know, they have a rich history too. Now, you may not think so, but they do, and that's a fact of the matter. You know, because what it was is that Margaret Thatcher was pretty much trying to say, well, because we have, and exactly pretty much what she said out of her mouth, because we have a monarchy and a government set up a certain way, like, you can't compare us to them, like, they're beneath us, like, they don't even have the regular infrastructure together. But let's get down to the get down. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is it really that Africa is unstable as it is? I don't know, maybe you and all of those, you talking about Queen Elizabeth and all of her ancestors. Let's talk about all of y'all ancestors and how they came through Africa and split the fuck up out of Africa between all of y'all different fucking countries to come exploit, dig up all of the fucking resources and everything that Africa has. To this day, I still do that. Whether it's oil, whether it's diamonds, whether it's gold, because we all know Africa is like, it's that bitch when it comes to having resources. So if you really want to talk about the instability of Africa and the way that their government is set up, let's talk about it from the beginning. Since you want to talk about history, let's talk about history and how we actually got there. Miss Thatcher, since you want to act like you're so much better than everybody else and acting like you and your little white friends, you're just so fucking above, like, bitch, they don't even fucking take you seriously because you're a woman. She had me pissed. Okay, so then, you know, like I said, after the Queen, the back and forth there to me was everything. Like, I love the back and forth between Margaret and the Queen this episode, because the shade, it was iconic. It was everything for me. So then, you know, eventually they end up, you know, separating because, again, they wasn't going to agree at all. So, you know, the Queen was talking to the people from the other nations, and she's like, look, you know, because like Margaret Thatcher was the only person out of all of the other 48 people, out of 49, she was the only one that said that she didn't want to impose sanctions. Everybody else was cool with it. So, you know, the Queen is talking to people from the other nations, and they're like, look, she's like, look, we're gonna do what we gotta do to make sure that she signs it. So everything that they bring it across her damn desk, she's like, no. Pretty much she was saying that she didn't want the word sanctions to be anywhere in any of the proposals. So they kept coming back with different words: sanctions, proposals, measures, all of this other stuff, and she kept saying no. Eventually, I think they ended up getting like a poet or something, and he ended up writing like signals, and she checked off on that. But then when she went to the press conference and they asked her, you know, oh, well, you know, it seemed like you was backed into a wall, you know, and you signed off on it. And she's like, well, you know, I agreed to signals, you know, and signals they can point one way, but they can also point another, pretty much saying like, yeah, I signed that, but I signed that pretty much because it's going to give me all of the flexibility in the world. That says signals. It doesn't say that these are things that are absolutely going to happen. It's saying things that could possibly happen, and I could possibly get it to shift somewhere else. So of course everybody else, and you know, everybody is kind of pissed about it. The other countries are pissed, and of course the Queen is over it. Now in our reality, when it comes to the Queen, she is not supposed to say anything when it comes to political affairs, which I find very interesting. Like, it's interesting that she's not allowed to voice her opinion, but she's used so much when it comes to political moves, and you know, like political moves and thoughts and actions throughout the world. That's what I do find very interesting. Like, no, the Queen is not a political figure, but she kind of is, because that's how the UK and that's how Britain, that's how y'all use her. So it's kind of weird. So anyway, so eventually, you know, of course, There are stories flying left and right about the tension between, you know, the queen and, you know, Margaret. And so, you know, you got advisors. You got this one particular advisor, Michael, who we see him go to like some, I don't know, somebody to like write a story. And he's like, I'm not about to tell, you know, on the queen, because they wanted him to spill all the beans. He said he wasn't going to do that. So he ends up going to meet the queen and her other advisor, and, you know, was talking about all of the stories that's coming out, you know, and how they should pretty much how the queen should put out a statement pretty much saying how she backs Margaret. And the queen is like, should I though? Like, I don't really think I should. I think I should say that I don't really fuck with what she's doing. That's, in my words, what she said. And both the advisors was like, no. Like, you should not do that, because the queen doesn't say anything when it comes to this type of thing. She's supposed to be silent. That's the whole point of the monarchy, is to not say a word. And she was like, no, but that's how I feel. Like, I do feel like she's being uncaring and she's being unkind when it comes to this entire situation, which she was. And so again, so the advisor, one of the advisors, Michael, when they left out, he was like, look, we gonna do this, but I want it to be noted that I said we shouldn't. So, you know, they let the story fly. The story ended up flying out there. Like I said, the advisor, he goes and he talks to the newspaper, tells them what's going on. Then we see everybody getting newspapers left and right. Philip was cracking me up, because when he was reading that paper to the queen, he was laughing. Like, you could tell he liked that shit. Like, he liked the fact that she stood out and she said something, because normally, you know, she wouldn't and people don't. So eventually, there's a meeting between Margaret Thatcher and, you know, the queen after all of the papers come out. And Margaret Thatcher really went in there and handed the queen, like, and gave the queen her ass to kiss. And I mean, she gobbled her up. She really gobbled her the fuck up. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm cooking. So, yeah, so she really came in there. Margaret Thatcher really came in there and gobbled the queen the fuck up. She gobbled her up. She went in on her. Now, I'm not trying to say she made good points, but she did go in on her. And I feel like in that moment, I feel like Queen Elizabeth should have stood in what the fuck she said. She should have stood in it. She would have been like, if I was the queen, I would have been like this. Look, I know technically and normally I'm not supposed to say anything, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, I got just as much right as you to say what it is that I want to say. You're talking about you're older than me, you're the senior, but let's be real. I've been doing this shit since I was born, for real. Like, ever since my father passed away in the abdication, it been me. You just became prime minister not that long ago. So you want to talk about you older than me and you from this, but you don't know this government the way that I know the government. And as much as y'all try to use me as a pawn for the stuff that y'all do, I feel like I should be able to have a say every now and again, especially when it's something I really believe in. That's what I would have said if I was the queen. The queen should have stood 10 toes down on what the fuck she did. Like, fuck her. Oh, well, y'all want to get into it? Let's get to it. Because guess what? Let me tell you something, Prime Minister. You can be elected the fuck up out of here. See, I gotta die for me to get up out of here. That's the difference. That's the difference. And I understand Margaret Thatcher was trying to make that seem like that's a bad thing. Like, oh, well, you know, you just got inherited just stuff versus me earning it. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But at the same time, she could actually use that against you. To be like, girl, you're temporary as far as I'm concerned. You're temporary. You can get up out of here. And to be quite honest, I am pretty sure that if the queen wanted to use her power and influence to get you the fuck up out of there, she probably honestly could. So yeah, that's that on that. But she pretty much gave her ass a kiss. So then oh, and also before she left, you know, because the queen at this point was over, she didn't want to hear nothing she had to say. So she gets up like that, you know, you can pretty much leave. And you know, they was throwing little subtle shots at each other, you know, because the queen was like, oh, you know, so like, how's your favorite son? You know, your favorite one, the one who likes to explore so much. And he was like, that was one time, okay? And he's actually a businessman. He has a business, I don't know, somewhere. Oh, and he has a business in South Africa. I said, oh, well, there you go. It make all of the sense. Nepotism. That's why you don't want to implement the sanctions. That's why, right there, because your son has a business in South Africa. And so if you do that, it'll probably fuck up whatever it is that he has going on. Makes sense to me now, and I'm pretty sure it made sense to the queen too at that point in time. Like I said, but the shade was eye fucking conic. So then, you know, it's time for the wedding, because I didn't mention this because it really ain't that important. But Prince Andrew, because I could do a whole separate video about why I don't fuck with Prince Andrew. But anyway, Prince Andrew, you know, he's getting married or whatever. So he been popping out in and out, you know, and he went to go see his mom at one point in time and said, you know, I know that Charles is jealous of me. You know, he jealous because we so close and blah, blah, blah. So it's the day of the wedding. And mind you, all of this stuff is still going on with the queen and stuff. So all of the kids pretty much are, you know, in like a room together. And they're all pissed. mostly Prince Andrew was pissed, like, why would she do this? It's supposed to be about me. Like, y'all just sound so spoiled. It's ridiculous. Like, it's supposed to be about me. This is supposed to be me and my wedding day. Me and my wedding day. And she wanted to step out of line and start saying something, so now it's all about her. Now Prince Charles, of course, got upset because he's like, well, she did what it is that she told me not to do, which is speak her mind and speak her opinion. So yeah, I'm a little confused. But he got you together, Prince Andrew, because what he pretty much said, and honestly, is like, I mean, let's be real. Like, Prince Andrew, who really cares, like, about you getting married? Because it's not like you about to be king at all. It would take like some crazy shit to happen for you to be king. You're not gonna be king. Like, I could possibly be king, and then my kids and his kids and his kids and his kids. Like, the chances of you becoming king is like 0 to none. So in our reality, like, who really gives a fuck about your wedding? That's how I feel. That's how I feel. And granted, I'm not in the UK, so y'all can get in the comments and tell me if Prince Andrew, if y'all care about him, like, was he a big deal? Because I really don't see what the fuck a big deal is if you ain't even supposed to be next in line to be the king anyway. Who even cares about you and what you going through? I don't give a fuck, okay? And then the way that we ended the episode pretty much is, you know, they come to the queen and pretty much tell her, you know, we have to, like, we gotta clean the story up. It's getting way too bad. It's getting too thick. The tension's getting too thick. So the advisor that was there with her and the guy Michael, he pretty much opts to throw Michael under the bus and be like, look, you know what we gotta do. We gotta pretty much say that somebody leaked it, and that's what they did. He went to Michael and said, look, he literally flipped it on him and was like, you know what you did, and you shouldn't have did it, and you went and you told people the tabloid stuff, and so, you know, I will hope you will do the right thing and get your stuff and leave. And that's what he did. Thankfully, it said that he went on to be a very successful author. And, you know, the queen was watching him, you know, walk out of the, you know, leave out of the palace. And I'm just like, see, queen, this is where I can't fuck with you at, because you was going so hard on Margaret about her doing the right thing, but you didn't do the right thing. You didn't do the right thing when it mattered. So how you gonna come for her? Now they did end it, you know, with, you know, showing that apartheid ended, and, you know, when they asked Nelson Mandela, was sanctions a really big reason for the end of it? And he said absolutely. So Margaret Thatcher, guess what? You on the wrong side of fucking history, bitch. Wrong side. Wrong side. And you came off completely like an entitled fucking white woman. And it's sad, because I really did like you as a character, but that whiteness is always gonna overshadow everything else. Y'all get in the comments. Y'all tell me what y'all think.